Yeah, and then I went with Skipper Jim Fizzard, Fizzard, and I called them Uncle and Aunt. It was too formal to say Mr. and Mrs. And you'd never call them by their first name because they're older than us. So everyone went by Uncle and Aunt. And when you go around there today, you hear people calling Uncle and Aunt, but they're no relation to them at all.
Well, what would you do then? Well, when you went fishing with them, what size boat and what were your?
Well, the vessel wasn't too big. She was a fore and after jib, jumbo foresail, and mainsail. And first, when I went on there, certainly we were trading and coasting and hauling lumber and produce and everything else. And I took a man's. I was only 13 when I took a man's place on the vessel, and took my trick at the wheel, and I was lashed to the wheel the same as anyone else. And
why would you do that? Why would you have to be lashed to the wheel?
Well, in bad weather, you get sea break over, and you get and you get thrown over, and you lose your life.
All those stories are true that you're reading.
Oh, yes. And then even lots of times when you're beaten in towards the harbor, and we had no power in those days. Even if you were up trimming the jibs, you'd have to have a lifeline on you because when she'd go to change from one tack to another in those vessels, you'd have to slack up your jib and hold your jumble to windward. And either one of them could slap you, and the sea coming over, you could, so you'd be lashed to rigging there, but just for safety, like a lifeline.
So it was a schooner.
Oh yeah, right, yeah.
It was a schooner, and what would the tonnage be? Any idea what would it be?
Really, I couldn't say what the tonnage would be, but they wouldn't be. About half the size of those big Loonberg Dutchmen. Oh no, a little more than that, I guess. Yeah.
And so you went coasting when you weren't fishing. You guys were coasting.
Oh yeah, right. Well, at that one, but then I was on another one which was much bigger, and she went to the Grand Banks and that all the time. But,
and did you go to the Grand Banks?
Oh yeah, but not too much. I spent about a year out there altogether, I suppose.
What was that like? Tell me about that now, because that's life that's totally.
Yeah, well, you go out, and those skippers knew where they anchored, and then when you'd anchor down, and they draw for positions where you're going to set, and certainly we had 6 dories, 3 on the port side, 3 on the starboard side, and then you draw for, and you'd have to set off to the northeast. Probably, and you and I are in the dory, and you're in charge of the dory. And let's say in the morning, you'd get a heave out at 2 o'clock in the morning. You'd have to heave out of your bunk. You get the word heave out, and then you'd have to go out in the hole when the weather was bad. And if the weather was good, you bait up on deck. But you go out in the hole and bait up. And then certainly you put your trawl tubs aboard of your dory, and you'd go and set. Sometimes you would set and leave them out, but if the weather was bad, you'd underrun and take them back with you again. When you get back aboard of the vessel, it'd be 9 o'clock. It'd be dinner time. The cook would have dinner ready for 9 o'clock.
In the morning?
In the morning, yeah. And then certainly you'd go and fish again. If you were underrunning, you'd come back and you'd have another dory load of fish. And you would eat again, but then certainly you'd make 2 or 3 runs like that, and the deck loaded, and the vessel would be loaded with fish pretty well. But then you would have to hit that fish and split them, and put them down, and salt them in the hole. So by the time, if the fishing was good, by the time you get all that done, it'd be, and get a mug up, we would call it, it'd be 10 o'clock at night. So you turn in from 10 till about 2, and you get up again. Now I always got a little sleep like that, but I was speaking to old Captain, not Agnes Walters, Agnes Tanner. My brother sailed with him for 7 years. One year I was down, he was talking and about different things, you know. Him and Brother Doug was talking, and he said, "Do you remember this or remember that?" Brother Doug was saying. And the old man, he was very gentleman, dressed with a suit and tie, and he said, he looked at me, he said, "Mr. Pike, there's many things," he said, "that I don't want to remember. But you know," he said, "I never lost a vessel in my life." I said, "Never lost?" I just thought myself, never lost a vessel. What do we mean? I had an idea. But he said, "I seen many vessels lost." He said he'd build a vessel and a firm could stand 2 bad years, but the third one they wouldn't. And he said the vessel be taken from them and be sold down in Cape Breton or Newfoundland somewhere. But I never lost a vessel in my life. And Brother Doug said to him, "Do you remember this time?" He said that we loaded and was in the summertime out on the Grand Banks, and you told us when we got underway for home, and we were trying to dress down the fish, and you said, "Lay down, boys, and go to sleep." And some of them, the dories would be all hove in on deck. Some of them just laid down amongst the fish with their oilskins, some in the dories, some up on the cabin, and they went to sleep. And then the skipper woke them after a while, and they got up and they dressed the fish in no time and went below. So the old skipper told me, he said, "You know, Mr. Pike, when we went out on the Grand Banks and the fishing was good," he said, "we pulled the curtains on our bunk, and when the vessel was loaded, we pulled them back again." So what he was meaning, they never went in their bunk until the vessel was loaded, and it would take 6 or 7 days. They just lay and have a little nap and go at it again. It was quite a life. I never witnessed anything like that, but it's just what this old fellow told me.
Well, the year you were on the Grand Banks, what was the vessel you were on? What was the name of that ship?
The Joan LMA, I was out on her.
And who was the captain of that? Was the captain tough?
No, he was a good man. Yeah.
And what size crew would there be?
Well, it'll be 6 dories. That'll be 12, 14 men. You'd have a kedgie, a flunky, and there would be the captain and the cook, and there would be 6. There would be 2 men in a dory, And but the cook, if someone got sick, the cook would have to go in the dory.
And what was the food like? What would you eat?
All the food was good. Corned beef and cabbage and stuff like that. Boiled dinners and stews and all the homemade bread. He'd bake everything, aboard. And the food was always good on those schooners.
Did you ever see any... I just wanted to ask about bait now. You said you were baiting out. What would you bait? What would you use for bait?
Well, certainly there's different... there's different kinds of bait. In the spring, when you go out in March, that would be the first time you go out, right? And in March, you go out on the frozen bait. That would be frozen herring, right? And then you'd be gone for 3 weeks. And you'd be back again with roughly 3 weeks, a little more or less. And then you would have the fresh herring. And you say you go out on the fresh herring bait. And then after that, you would have the capelin bait. And that would be in June. And then certainly in August, the squid. And the squid was the best bait. Best bait you could get. It was easy to put on the hooks. And it would stay on good, But I'm talking a lot about fishing. But some of the things that I'm telling you, I didn't witness it,
Yeah.
I never spent all that much time at the fishing.
And was there lots of fish? Was there lots of cod when you were out?
Oh, there was lots of cod. Yeah, but there was one year that I was out and there was no cod. I was on another schooner. We were fishing over off Cape Pine and those places. honest, cod was scarce.
What would they be getting for them back? To be landed in Lunenburg?
No. To be landing them in, we were landing them in Newfoundland.